Why, hello. Perrin Lovett here, back for Prepper Post News, courtesy of Freedom Prepper and Freedom Roasters Coffee. And this is Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. It's shaping up to be a big, exciting, huge week. And we've got something different today. That's the title, something different that honestly looks a whole lot like more of the same. But first, hello to everybody at Freedom Prepper, the Freedom Prepper community, everybody on the podcast, which is now also at the community, and everybody here at YouTube. Let's get right into it. We've got more and more evidence of unrestricted fifth generation warfare against and in the United States. This comes from Vox Day's blog and Secretary of State Pompeo. It's a recommendation to read a report out of the U.S. Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs. This comes from the Capitol. Secretary of State Pompeo urges Americans to read the report titled Hunter Biden, Burisma, and Corruption, the Impact on U.S. Government Policy and Related Concerns by the Senate Committee. And there's a great quote from Pompeo here. This isn't the Cold War. This is something different. The China threat is already within our borders. He's right. It's been here. It's been here for quite some time. It just hasn't, until very recently, been recognized as a threat. Some, like the Biden crime family, have seen it as an opportunity for making money and gaining more and more influence and power. How is that going to affect a Biden administration? I mean, legal reports, Senate committees, elections, we stand at the precipice of all of these things under the law just becoming both moot and mute and ceasing to matter at all. But not to us. Vox had a funny little comment. He said, on the other hand, in relation to all this Chinese threat, on the other hand, all those immigrants have surely been good for the economy, right? Free traders and free movement of peoplers, which kind of sounds a lot like the libertarians. And I'm going to try to get to my theory about them too, but we'll see. For 20 years, the Chinese communists have been steadily infiltrating all levels, all parts of American and Canadian society in a way that looked anything like warfare. But in fact, it's the worst kind, because it's the most subversive kind of warfare, and it may not actually be designed to hurt anybody, kill anybody, destroy anything. It's just a way of taking away resources and taking away power. The American people certainly feel that on all different kinds of levels. But let me know what you think about that. And I've got some more stories that kind of tie in. We've got some unrestricted warfare, lawfare, legal, political stories in the news. The soon-to-be, tomorrow, inaugurated King Biden the Great. How do I put this? It seems to me like he wants total warfare against the American people, and he's probably going to try to enact it to the best of his ability. One battlefield is going to be using third world immigrants to displace Americans. That's been the theme for the past 50 years, and he appears to really want to ramp it up. He's got 11 million illegals in this country, and that's probably not all of them, but 11 million that the news is talking about, that he wants to grant some sort of legal standing to. And make no mistake, it's a path to citizenship. And this is just more of the same that we've been seeing. Mass migration of people is warfare, and it's one of the most insidious kinds of warfare. It's not just us. This happens everywhere in the world where it's allowed to. And again, you reach a point in these affairs where the law just ceases to matter, and we're right about at that point. And hey, the new invaders aren't even waiting. They're already on their way again. Every month, for years. There's been a caravan, a convoy, a big long marching column, just like an army, marching north. Some of them didn't make it, some did. We've got 7,000 or 8,000 more coming up out of Honduras. I think this group is on approach to, I've got a picture of them. Looks just like all the other marching columns. A lot of, let me see if I can see anyone who is not a fighting age male. Everybody on the front line of this military column is looks to be between the ages of 18 and 30, in pretty good physical shape. They keep coming. They keep coming. Mexico may turn them away. Mexico really defends their southern border, and as President Trump pointed out last week, they do a better job than the U.S. government sometimes in defending our southern border. But it does, as Paul Craig Roberts says, this does look like the camp of the saints. Heretofore, I would have recommended reading that great French novel, but honestly, we're starting to live it out now in France and America and everywhere else in the West, outside of the places that I mentioned yesterday that are really under attack. Want more proof? Want more proof out of Western Europe? Migration equals war equals a direct attack on the King of Belgium. King Felipe was on his way to the palace, and he was attacked by a diverse mob of immigrants. These, the people that the globalists say we have to have, they are an absolute benefit. They're a strength and a blessing, and they also like to throw bricks and bottles and rocks at the king. When I was a kid, my family almost moved to Belgium. Kind of wish we had. Certainly better than where we ended up going. But I never envisioned myself as a visitor throwing rocks at the king. But that's the greatest strength, and it's just something that Europe's going to have to get used to, or have a relatively short war to expel. We're going to find out. All of these things we're going to find out. Also in Europe, we've had a taste of democracy. This is what democracy looks like. Everybody babbles and chirps and screeches and screams about democracy, letting the people have their say. And I could pull any one of a number of H.L. Mencken quotes about the truth of democracy, but in certain places with certain issues, it does work. Forever the small towns of New England were governed on a direct vote of all the citizens. And when there's only 100 of you, it makes sense. Also, in a homogeneous place, an ancient place like Switzerland, it has tended to work rather well. Switzerland has been a bit of an outlier for 1,000 years in Europe, but like most countries around the world, they've been in lockdown over the coronavirus. They even have a coronavirus lockdown law that was passed last year, and they had a petition. They followed the normal legal route, and now they're going to have a national referendum. It's a federation, right? Switzerland is technically not a country so much as it is a confederation of the various cantons that are technically independent. So the people want to vote. The vote is probably going to be coming up in May or June, and they will either continue their police state lockdown or just dispense with it and be like Sweden or South Korea and live free. My vote is with the Swiss people. Be interesting to see what they do, but I'll bet the democracy mongers are not all that happy about that particular vote. No word on whether a computer can be called upon to rig anything. We got some more rigging legal headlines in the news. Reuters had, a typical stupid Reuters question as a headline. Can President Trump pardon himself? Yes. He could also pardon Jade Sacker, who I had never heard of until this weekend. She's a on-again, off-again contract correspondent for the criminal news network, CNN. And she and her CNN crew were embedded with Antifa and BLM, and they went to the peaceful protest by the Patriots at the nation's capital on the 6th, and they agitated, and they for obvious reasons. There's a video. I've got this linked up to somebody's tweet with a video of Jade in the Capitol, talking to her cameraman, saying, "Hey, we did it. We can stir things up and make this look really bad for Trump. You're going to delete this, right?" "Oh yeah." Well, he didn't, and but now we know. I call on Jack Dorsey and Miss Wojcicki, all of big tech. Please ban CNN, because they attack our democracy. They probably don't trust science, vaccines, or Emperor Biden, who I fully support, of course. So that's interesting. And by Patriots, I'm not talking about Tom Brady's former team that didn't make the playoffs this year without him. Also not making the team anymore is the NRA. At one time, a fantastic firearms rights organization, which turned into a racket, which turned into, the allegations. Now they're bankrupt. And they're apparently going to move out of, where are they? What part of Virginia? Right outside of D.C., Wapple Mills Road. They're going to move to Texas if and when they survive bankruptcy. And I hope they have a full reorganization and get back to actually defending the Second Amendment. We're going to possibly need that. And there are other, how should I say, better 2A organizations anyway, like Gun Owners of America. I got a story, CNBC. I really do hope they turn it around. I used to have a lot of fun being a member and working with certain people at the NRA. Speaking of guns, they've been flying off the shelf, not just the past year, but in the modern age, Americans are just buying every weapon they can for some odd reason. They've also been buying body armor and helmets and gas masks that we recently talked about because of a thread that started over at the community. Body armor, helmets, and gas masks are now in very short supply nationwide. So if you can find one of those, if you need it, go ahead and stock up on what you can when you can. I have a story from Yahoo about that. Also, sad news, not really from the nation's capital. This young decade, the roaring 20s, seems like the decade of death, doom, and despair. And it's also seen an end to the March for Life. The Right to Life March 2021 has been canceled. This happens every year in the District of Corruption, where ordinary people peacefully protest the murder of 63 million American babies since 1973. This year, because of reasons, it's going to be resurrected online. I will note that the baby murders continue live and in person, death in person, every day. So I've got a story from Life News. If you were planning on participating, there's a small group of hardcore people that are still going. I don't know if the Criminal News Network and Jack Dorsey and the Republican Party are going to denounce them as a bunch of domestic terrorists. I'm sure Joe Biden will say that they're nothing but thugs because, who but a thug cares about children? Demons certainly do not, and that's our last word of the day. Demons in the cities. Rushby wrote another little short, great column about why you find such an immense gathering of sins and sinful behaviors in urban areas. And he posits, probably correctly, that you don't need direct demonic influence when you have so many people crammed together who can get away with doing so many illicit things. New York, Los Angeles, Washington, Chicago, they all honestly have a Sodom and Gomorrah side to them. And, I'm sure the demons are happy about that. Certainly their master is. But this is just another reason to, as we've talked about recently at the community, think about moving somewhere smaller and more traditional and more sane. And I'm going to just throw out my theory now in the interest of sanity before I have a couple of weekly announcements about the LP, the Libertarian Party. This is just a theory. It's just kind of come together in my head. Got a lot of friends who because of recent happenings, have decided to abandon the grifters at the GOP and go back to the Libertarian Party, for freedom. And most of these are good people, and the ideas that they believe in, individually and in small groups, work great. They're great principles, many of them, not all of them. Because I went and looked at the National LP website and their platform, and it's on the whole, it's contradictory at best. A lot of it looks utterly foolish, and a lot of it looks flat out disingenuous and dangerous. And of course, ultimately, if you dig deep enough, you find their one and only issue: they want to smoke marijuana. More power to them. But here's my theory. I think that big party, big L libertarianism is just a soft front and a smiley face on globalism, as sold to and for and by stoners. Why? Well, I'll cover that. I may write something about, go down their platform and break down every plank, such as the open borders, the unrestricted movement of people, and free trade, which is pure globalism, which is worse than communism. And there's another fascinating thought. Could it be that big L libertarianism is worse than communism? I don't know. But at any rate, it's even 2 years ago, it was a moot point. Nobody's going to buy it. If you look at the pictures of any state LP gathering, if you look at their national board, you get an idea about who and only who is interested in these ideas, and it's not the new demographic at all. So, but this year, based on events leading up to tomorrow and what may happen between now and tomorrow, it's utterly pointless. But and if things go through as we are assured they will, then rest assured that you can vote Libertarian, Republican, Democrat, anything you like, or not at all, because it no longer will matter. So tomorrow, we're going to probably going to have a shorter show, and then the great inauguration, the historic inauguration of Kamala Harris as Empress, President-elect Joe Biden will occur in our nation's capital, guarded by 20 or 30,000 soldiers behind a fence. That's never happened. I'm going to come back in tomorrow evening and do a recap on the day's events, however they turn out, and we'll just look forward to moving forward after that. Check back here, and then Thursday and Friday, I really have no idea at this point what I'm going to be talking about. We may just go back to water filters and tarps and, survival axes, that kind of thing. But you're going to enjoy it either way, and we're still going to have our big January party. As a matter of fact, we're already having it. I know a lot of you are having popcorn right now, drinking the coffee and having a good time. That's important, and we're going to continue that tomorrow, and I'll see you then.